topic for today is how to get started as a freelancer, featuring 3 awesome panelists from our CodeControl community. So, quick word about myself. So, my name is Tristan. Been living in Germany now, in Berlin, for about 3.5 years. And I've been with the CodeControl team for 3.5 years, actually, since I came. And yeah, I really love what I do. And I'll explain to you exactly what I do in a sec in terms of CodeControl. So the agenda for today would be a very quick introduction to CodeControl. Then I would love to invite our 3 panelists into the call. And then we would do a little Q&A session. And then we would end with an introduction to our Freelancer Handbook. More details on that later. So CodeControl, what is CodeControl? On a very, very high level, CodeControl is essentially, well, we make awesome products and services to make the lives of freelancers better. Our kind of phrase, I guess, is that we're a future work company to enable professionals to realize fulfilling work. That includes everything from getting top gigs to having a very, very smooth project experience. And we're made up of a community of local, meaning in Germany, but also international group of freelancers. All in all, the big reason why we started CodeControl was really to make the lives of freelancers much easier. What does CodeControl look like today? Well, we are a global community. You can't hear the audio on that, but I'm just going to let that play on the side. Yeah, we're a global community. We have about 650 fully vetted freelance developers, designers, and product managers. And we're also expanding to different other different types like marketeers, as well as people specializing in finance. Currently, our community offers 84% remote-friendly gigs, and we have about 30 plus countries represented. Big group of our community members are located here in Berlin, but we also have quite dense hubs in other countries and other capitals. I say we have, apart from Berlin, our big cities actually include Munich, London, Zagreb, and also Sofia. Yeah, and some quick words about CodeControl. The video you're watching on the right was actually a video we shot about 2 years ago. And that's a really cool short video, just giving some testimonials from people from the community, what they say about CodeControl, what we do, showing off some really cool swag as well from our jumpers, our hoodies. A lot of people seem to like them. If you like them and you really want one, just post in the chat and maybe we can get one sent to you, perhaps. And yeah, I'll just quickly move on then. Currently, our community members, we work with lots of different types of companies. The common denominator with all the projects we work on is that we always vet the projects we get, so that from the freelancer's point of view, you don't have to waste time with everything from the admin to customer relations that can be very, very energy draining. And we basically replace all those, and we basically replace all the what's normally quite challenging with really smooth processes. For example, one of the big pain points of being a freelancer is, hey, if you have 3 different clients a year, that's 3 different contracts you need to look through. And if you start working with the big companies like the ones on the right-hand column, you're probably going to get 20 to 30-page contracts. So in our case, we would basically take that over for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And on top of that, you can sign your contracts on Slack. You can get all your main communications also through Slack. So the whole experience is super, super smooth. And that just creates less hassle in your life. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm really proud of the clients we work with. And I think it's a super nice, diverse range of industries as well. The kind of compound projects you could get with us. Yeah, I think that's generally a quick overview of CodeControl. If you have any more questions, just post them in the chat. More than happy to answer anything at all. But I really want to just dive right into the main portion of today's call. And that's going to be to answer the question of how can you get into freelancing? So let's hit the panel, and I will just quickly, just reaffirm that you can always ask questions over in the Ask a Question section, just at the bottom of the crowdcast. And we will love to answer the questions during the Q&A session. And so without further ado, I would love to actually invite Angelo, David, and Irina. So just hang tight while I do that. Let's see. So first up, we're going to bring Irina in. And then second up, I would love to bring Angelo. And then, hey, Irina.
Hi, Tristan.
So, and then I will bring David. So, what I want to do is actually...
You lose the French connection.
Let's see. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to bring the French connection back in. How are you guys doing today?
Right. Just got a haircut, as you can see.
You got what, sorry?
Just got a haircut, as you can see.
Oh, very nice. But when was the last time you cut your hair? How long have you been growing that for?
I think 3 or 4 years.
Yay.
Okay. Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
It feels this is awesome. I'm really really cool. Guys, thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your busy day. I'm looking forward to today's chat, and I would love to just kind of get started, and maybe I could just do a little round, and could you introduce yourself really quick? Maybe starting with you, Irina.
All right. Hi, and thank you for inviting me. It's my big pleasure to participate and actually share what I know about freelancing. So I myself, I'm Latvian-born and Berlin-based currently, and actually I've been here already for 5 years. And yeah, I'm working as a freelance UX UI designer, already senior level, which basically makes freelancing more possible for me. And I do also new media arts on the side currently, working with VR, AR things.
Okay, we'll talk more about that in a second,
Sure.
especially new media. David.
Yes, it's me. I'm the French guy. Hello, everyone.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Yeah. So quick. Yes. So why I am here? Because I love sharing my knowledge, and actually, that was my first contract as a freelancer, like 10 years ago, when my old university asked me to teach to students. So that's how I started part-time freelancing. But now I'm full-time.
Okay, and we'll talk about that move as well. But currently, you're calling from where in France exactly?
In the north of France, near Belgium. So it's Lille. And I have a passion about extreme sport. I have like here a longboard, and I'm trying to teach my girlfriend longboarding.
Are there some nice mountains in Lille?
No.
Okay.
Only flat.
Okay, cool. Angelo.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Yeah, Angelo, I've been working in software engineering for 25 years, mainly in the area of software architecture and requirements engineering and managing software teams. And I've been doing that freelance independent since 2008. So the gist of my work is mainly working as a software architect, being the contact between the project and the actual customer. And there's a link to a bit of product management there, and leading teams, and then on and off trainings on the side. Usually once a month, I run a training online or in person, except for the past 4 months for obvious reasons. Yeah. I started my independence 2008 in the Netherlands, and my company is still registered there, but I moved to Italy last year.
Oh.
So the challenge now is building up a new network.
Yeah. And maybe, Angelo, we could start with, when we were chatting earlier, you said you had this really cool story about this, how you got started in freelancing. Because maybe if we go like according to chronological order, Angelo started back in 90s, I want to say. Not freelancing, but software development.
Yeah. I started working in software in 1995, right after I graduated. But okay, let me see what you mean. We were talking in a preparation for this. We were talking about how did you get into freelancing and running your own business. I guess that's something that's always been on my mind since I was young, maybe unconsciously, maybe consciously. But a few months ago, when I was cleaning up, I found a business card that I had printed while I was still studying. It must be around 1992 or so, where I made up a name for a company together with a friend. and we were promoting ourselves as IT service provider or software engineering service providers. We never had any customers. We never really got it going. I don't remember how hard we tried, but it's funny after almost 30 years to find that business card again. But in the end, it took me until 2005, I think. Yeah, 2005 to make the first step. I was working for a software company at the time. And together with a colleague, we got the opportunity to set up our own department within the company, focusing on consulting and training. After 2 years, it became clear to me that the CEO of the software company, and they were really working on contractor basis, so billing by the hour, that he didn't get the difference in the payment model for consulting and training compared to that. So after 2 years of fighting over that, I just decided to split and do it on my own.
And I think that's how it normally starts, right? I mean, we talk to so many freelancers, obviously, who want to join the CodeControl community. But I know talking to each one of you individually, whether I was the one who interviewed you or whether we've spoken in the past, it always starts with doing some gigs on the sides, am I right? And then it slowly builds on and you get the confidence to kind of start. Irina, maybe, I know that's how it started for you, right?
That definitely somehow was my way. I mean, I was working, I remember like more than probably 16 years ago, I was working, or let's say I started to work in advertising, and I was doing like a lot of graphic design. And then I just remember that moment when after 2 maybe years, I got super depressed. So first of all, advertising probably was not the best place for me, although I was doing fine. But I somehow understood actually that the problem is 5-day work, at the office, where you actually feel kind of a little bit trapped. So, and from that moment, I made this kind of huge decision, and I started to do like part-time working only, like being on the site, and then slowly kind of switching also. I started studying art, like more like technology-based art. And in parallel of that, I actually kept my old clients and actually was working for them as a freelancer. Like at that time, we didn't call it really like a freelancer, it was not trendy or anything like this. I was just doing my work, not being at the office, basically like this. And because like, I think because I started really early, I think that I developed this mindset of being a freelancer. Actually, now it's much stronger than actually just employees' mindsets, Yeah, that's kind of my thing, I think.
Was it the same for you, David?
Yeah, for me it was more complicated.
Okay.
So let's start. Yeah, so as I said at the beginning, I was just doing some stuff on the side as a freelancing. But for me, the main benefit of working as a freelancer is working with you guys, because I'm from France. I traveled a lot. I worked 3 years in London. I moved back to France, and at this time, before going to London, I was working 6 months and traveling 6 months. So I was working in a company where it was not a problem for them, because they were just selling me as an engineer. So I was traveling a lot, and the thing is, I noticed that I was a freelancer, but without all the benefits. So when I was in London, when I moved back to France, I needed to get the step and being full-time freelancer because of the tax and so on. So like, okay, let's do it. And the thing in my life, nothing changed, apart of sometimes I need to fight with the administration in France, because here it's horrible. I have a
Try Italy.
Pro tip. No. Estonian.
Yeah.
Watch out. If you don't know what is it, guys, check for it.
Yeah.
If you are remote and want to work only with internet, it's great. But yeah, that's how I started. In fact, just with small bits, and now I'm full time. So
I think that's a super interesting topic, because my brother's he has an Estonian e-residency, and his intention is to move full time into freelancing. And maybe that's definitely as you said, like a pro tip, because
Yeah. For me now, I'm with my girlfriend here in Lynn. But if it was not the case, I think I will be like a full-time nomad. Just have a completely different lifestyle. Live in the Airbnb and working remote for everything. So
and I mean, if I kind of like summarize what I've heard from each three of you, it's kind of eventually your willingness to want to do your own thing in your particular way eventually moved you towards freelancing and making those decisions to change your life in that way. But obviously that took a bit of time, right? That wasn't something that happens overnight. That took a bit of time. Angelo, for you as well, right?
Yeah, it took, in the end, it took 13 years to make the final step.
And do you reckon it's easier these days? I mean, if we fast forward now, it's 2020, we talk about e-residency. You talk about, companies like CodeControl that also help you a bit.
It helps for sure. What I remember is that I told you about that business card that we made in 1992. Back then, the internet was there, but nobody knew it. So nobody was on it. So if you wanted to meet a customer, you actually had to go out, build a network, grab the phone, go to events. That still works now. But back then, we had no clue where to start. Now you can find everything about every conference that's going on the internet. You can go to communities like CodeControl. There's a gazillion agencies on the net that help you find projects. So it's a lot easier, definitely. If it's better, I'm not sure, because especially with these agencies, you never know what you're going to get. I get the hairs on the back of my neck stand up when I see what kind of job requests come by on sites like Upwork and freelancer.com. But people think, okay, if they're freelance, they must be cheap.
That's globalization, right? That's what happens eventually when the market gets saturated with very I would say a bit dodgy offers, and you don't know who to trust anymore.
Exactly. But making the step is definitely easier. That's for sure.
And I mean, since we have a lot of people, if I just look at the poll, we had a lot of people that said for the second question, it was, how have you always been curious? Have you always been curious about freelancing but never knew how to get started? David, maybe I would bring this question to you, because you joined more recently as a freelancer, like really moving full time into freelancing. You said the big difference was now there's more admin work.
Yeah, more or less. So, but the thing is, I was, as I said, I was working like kind of half-time freelancing. So I was looking at some tools, and now it's better because I know I'm full-time freelancing so for example, I have a bank for everything and I pay for it, because otherwise it's chaos. But yeah, I think these days it's more easier than ever to like create your freelancing, to have your first contract as a freelancer, because you have plenty of tools available. You have plenty of stuff to automate your billings and so on. So with the paperwork, it's super easy now. The only thing I think is because now these days it's more easier, so there is more people. So
I think a big fear that people have is like, hey, I'm working my full-time job now, and oh man, the freelancing life looks amazing. You have flexibility. Now that everyone's working from home, they also feel it a bit more. What it could be like, it's kind of like a tease of what it could be like.
The big issue is sometimes I have zero from my bank account because people are paying me not in time, and sometimes I earn 10K per month or more, 20, I don't remember. So these things during the year, it doesn't change a lot of things. But I think it could be frustrating for people, and as you said, I have fear of something because I don't know if I'm gonna have a job and I don't know if I'm gonna be paid. So I think to limit the risk, you can do it by your side. Here is a pro tip. You can ask to your boss if you don't want to get a raise. You can say, okay, I work the same time, but I work 4 days a week. And the thing is, with the last day on Friday, you can start working on your freelancing stuff and building your audience, finding new clients. And the thing is, when I was employee, I was always asking an interview with some recruiters, even if I knew that I didn't wanted to get the job, just to practice the interview.
Nice.
And now I'm like super confident and in doing some interview. I have sharp questions because I did this for 5 years. So just as a practice.
And Irina, I know you're based in Berlin. Has it always been through like networking that you've gotten your gigs, or is it more through connections and word of mouth, or has it been a lot of also you promoting yourself online?
Yeah, I think this is very important. The same thing what David basically mentioned. You kind of have to have this courage and actually the kind of motivation to create these opportunities for yourself. It's not gonna just come to you, and then, I mean, to me, like, I don't know, it always helped networking, obviously, keeping LinkedIn like updated, whenever you are open to new projects, you just kind of put there, open to new projects or collaborations or whatever you want at that moment. And then, of course, also the website, right? And that's kind of your business card these days, Yeah, and for me, I think, I was also like at some point very scared to do this like full-time switch, from kind of, because I was having also like part-time jobs and then, trying to do the freelancing on the side. But at some point I kind of learned that that's not very beneficial in Germany to have these two separate cases because of the taxes and everything else. So I kind of had to make a decision if I kind of stay or start full-time, job, which was a really easy thing for me to do because many like companies wanted to work with me, or to kind of start my own full-time freelancing, like let's say business in this case. Yeah, but from me, of course, it's like what I learned, that you have to be really motivated. You have to be very disciplined. And to have some kind of routine, otherwise it's not going to happen for you. And probably on some Sundays, you need to learn additional things like bookkeeping or something about the German tax system. So yeah, it's like a lot of work, and I just really don't suggest doing this for people who really don't like doing any like paperwork, or obviously you can have your advisors always. Like CodeControl is super, super great, kind of connection in between the client and freelancer. Yeah, I mean.
But maybe like, I'd love to hear more about the whole mindset aspect. We talked about like, you need to be a bit entrepreneurial. You need to get your own, you need to look out for yourself, right? Create the opportunities with your own effort. That really, it comes down to the work that you put in, that's going to actually show some results. If we talk about like discipline and also structure, Angelo, I mean, you've been doing this for the longest time. Like, how has that been? Kind of, I would love to kind of hear how you've managed, for this whole time, and also congrats to you. I mean, it's really big respect that you've been doing this for this amount of time in such a professional level.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's hard when you start, I guess. As I said, I worked for a software company that basically, hired out their people by the hour. So we had account managers doing that, and at first I thought, okay, if an account manager can do it, I can do it myself as well. Well, it's a little bit harder than that. So my first two projects I got through one I got through a website. That was a small assignment for a training, and then the first two after that I got through agencies. So I was covered with that for basically the first 2 years. But after that, it was more and more in the networking, going to events, talking to people, keeping in touch with people that you met before, and said, we should work together sometime. And at some point, that starts paying off, because these people indeed come back to you. Or if you call them later on and say, hey, I'm running out of my project, and do you still think you have something going for me? And once you start doing that, and you're consistent in that, you keep talking to people, you keep contacting them every once in a while. Also, when you don't need work, they will remember you, and they will be able to help you get some work. Even to the point where, for one customer, I did an assessment on the quality of their software, and the outcome of the assessment was that the two software people that they had was a really small company. were not senior enough to manage it on their own. So they decided to hire somebody else. Took them about a month to make that decision after I left. And they called me to be part of the, the hiring of that new engineer. So I interviewed him, I talked to him, talked to a few other candidates. And in the end, we hired one. And then 3 years later, out of the blue, I suddenly got a phone call from that software engineer and said, hey, we're going to do an assessment again. And I told my new boss that you're the man to do it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. And it's happening to me all the time. Oh, I know David because I'm going to plenty of different meetups. We have free pizza, of course. and the thing I say, hey, hello, I'm David, I'm freelancer, I'm doing React Native. And people knew it, and sometimes I change my name. And I say, yeah, I'm a Zapier expert, or I'm an Airtable expert, and it kicks on the head of the people. So I have multiple freelancing gigs, and I'm trying, some of them works, but you never know. You always need to be nice with everyone, even though if you're not going to accept the project, because probably a friend of a friend of a friend is going to contact you in 5 years, as the same as Angelo said. So, yeah, as a freelancer, I think your first job is finding new clients all the time.
Definitely.
I think when I also talk to freelancers, and it's kind of the question, like, what makes you stand out as a freelancer? We talked about the market completely opening up to people all around the world. You have Upwork that's being completely filled with people posing as agencies. Actually, you have individuals posing as like 100-man agencies at the back. You have everybody just trying to offer the best rates, the best prices. Ultimately, I think what clients look for are people they can trust, and you don't mind paying a bit more money if you can trust this person and the person will be doing a good job. Irina, I know for a fact that you do good work because you worked together with us, and it's always good. And by good, I mean it's what it comes down to. And you guys can also correct me on this, but it's being extremely effective at communicating, always being present, even over communicating sometimes, just to know that the client knows that you're there and that you can always solve the problems. But what else does it actually take? What does it take to be a good freelancer? I guess is what I'm asking. Maybe Irina, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, in my case, I think it's always good to listen to people, because at least for me, because I'm UX designer, I have to learn about the product and actually the company, about the people, about their mindset, really a lot. And for example, I had cases that I was involved into the product, some kind of development, maybe some features, that needed some rework or something like this. But generally, to kind of really understand what they need or what is their goal, you have to listen to people, and this kind of empathy thing is really, really important in design, at least. What else? Yeah, always be ready, do a little research before, just kind of try to show that you are interested into developing their tool. Yeah. Maybe also showing the ways for them on which way it could go, not wait for them to say you what to do. I think this is kind of my approach. I know that not a lot of people, especially junior or maybe medium level designers, can do this. They probably don't have such a big motivation or experience, because this also comes with the time, right? But this is basically something you would need to, as a designer, have a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. And in the development world, how do you guys feel about that? Is it different for developers? We talk about active listening, we talk about effective communication as well. Angelo?
There is there is one thing that's been bugging me for a while, and people I see that happen as well. When you have a UX designer or a web designer, and you're a freelancer, you can just put sort of a portfolio online or make it available in a PDF to show, look, this is what I've done. My kind of work, setting up a software architecture. Well, first of all, the software architecture is the IP of the customer, so they don't allow you to use it as a portfolio item. then customers always tend to fall back on, okay, can we get your resume? Can we get your CV so that we can see what you've done? Certainly with these one-person agencies that you mentioned in between, I try to avoid them if I can, because what I really want to do is talk to the customer indeed about what is it that you're facing, and do we see a match where I can help you? And I'm more than happy to admit that I can't help you if I can't, and then I'll just walk out and you can find somebody else, and maybe I can even help you find somebody else. But that's what we should be talking about, and not about the resume. And in the software development world, that's still something that's really hard to get over.
I just wanted to add also one more thing, like in UX design, it also can be the same thing, when you kind of reach the level, when you are senior designer, you kind of are being invited to events, to speak to different stakeholders, and CEOs and everyone investors even, who participates in this specific product. But, so you basically sign a lot of contracts and you actually can't show these things in your portfolio. So it's sometimes it is also like that.
I remember the project that I'm almost finishing now. I think nobody in that company ever saw my CV. I'm a member of a network organization in the Netherlands for high-tech software companies. I'm the smallest company in the network, but I'm still a member. And we got invited to an SME seminar, and somebody was presenting about, okay, this is our vision for the industry that we're in. It's cattle feed and cat food production equipment. And we are facing this and this and this, and we have some problems with our software, and we're trying to get over that. He was really open and honest about that. So after the presentation, during the drinks, I started talking to him, and he brought in his colleague, the CEO of the company. And before I knew it, I was invited to their office to talk about their problems, and I got a presentation by their software engineering manager about what he was facing and everything. I was still in the project. After the summer holidays, because it was in summer, I came back to my project, and the manager there told me, okay, in a month we're going to say goodbye to you because we have a budget restriction and we need other kind of discipline than yours. Fine, I'll go, no problem. And before the end of that month, I already had a contract with that new customer, but they never saw my CV. We never talked about what I did in the past, only about what is it that we're facing and what do you think we can do about it.
That I guess also involves this active listening, right, and empathy a little bit. And this is what you can do only when you talk to the client directly sometimes.
It's because Angelo is an expert, so so the thing is, from my side, I would suggest, I am a JavaScript developer, so it's changing every second. I need to learn something new, which is kind of a pain. Or you can change it to be an expert on your field, because when you are freelancing, you are going to have a lot of different gigs for different scenarios, for different stuff. So for example, I want a website, okay, so I want a mobile app, I want this. So I would suggest to focus.
So cute.
I would suggest to focus on one thing. Like, for example, you are UX designer for websites, or you are, I don't know, software architecture for real estate agency, or as me, I'm a front-end developer for mobile application. And when you are an expert on this field, it's fine. It only takes 10K hours. And when you are an expert, you can get a raise on your daily rate. So, well, I mean, it's in the development industry, but I think it's working the same on every industry. You need to be an expert, because when people are going to hire you, first of all, they have a problem, and they want to solve it for yesterday. So you need to be super efficient at your work when you join, and you need to understand how the company works, how the people are organized, what is strategy, everything in just a couple of days. So the onboarding is really, really important.
I think like as we move more into, I mean, that's what the whole freelance thing is about, right? Like it's about being skill focused. Like what are you really working on? What value do you provide very concretely? I think there's more and more people also trying to learn new skills and trying to understand with oh yeah, guys, someone in the comments is just saying if you could just mute when one of us is not speaking. So if you want to speak, it'd be good to just unmute yourself. Yeah, sorry about that, you're Liana. Cool. What was I saying? Skills. I have a question. So my question is actually, I found that, and this is something I also ask when I talk to freelancers. It's like, you're hired because you're a specialist in what you do. So where is the, where is the balance between listening actively, really listening to what the client needs and providing what they need, and also bringing your expertise as well? So, there's always like, if you give too much of yourself in there, then maybe you might seem to have too big of an ego. Maybe you're pushing too much your own agenda. And if you do too little, maybe you don't seem proactive enough. It's like, where's that balance actually? Irina?
Yeah, to me, it's like, I think it varies from the project to project or the client to client, and teams to teams. For example, right now I'm working with Wire Swiss, and we are working on I'm amazed by the teamwork, and also the tool is great. And I can tell, like, for me, this is one of the very first times when I'm being respected super highly as a woman as well in the male-dominated industry, right? So, and I feel a lot of encouragement from the team, right, to kind of deliver my own opinions, which is like very, very interesting that they actually really do care about what I think, and kind of they want to develop the product the way I think it's good. Like in some other cases, obviously, I sometimes need to cut off, or if I feel that they're, because sometimes when you listen to people, they kind of feel that probably they can also put on the table their own ideas, but which is like kind of no in the design, because they actually need to trust the designer. Yeah, and then sometimes I kind of need to say that we can talk about the problem, but we are not talking about the solution. But this is like really this UX UI approach, right? Yeah.
Angelo, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, kind of how to find the balance, between providing expertise but also listening to the client?
Well, that ties a little bit into what Irina said as a last thing. You want to talk about the problem and not about the solution. What I see a lot in my domain, where people come up with, hey, we have a problem and we want to have software to solve it. Actually, that's already talking about a solution. I want it in software. Maybe you don't want it in software. So for me, it's really a matter of, and it really depends on who's at the other side of the table, or at the other side of the bar sometimes, or on the other side of Zoom, how you do that. But what I always try to do is get to the point where I can simply ask, okay, what you're saying now, is that really the problem that you want to solve? Or are you thinking already about a solution? And I can say it as blunt as I do it now, or I can find other ways to phrase it depending on who I'm talking to. But I always try to get to that point, because that's the point where you can make the switch from making them tell you what to do and not making optimal use of what you can provide, to thinking about, okay, what is my real problem and how do I solve that?
No.
And it's really hard to explain, but it's really something that happens in the interaction. Just find the right words, find the right time in the talk or in the exchanges that you have to get to the point where you can ask them, okay, what is the real problem that you try to solve, and let's talk about that.
David.
Yeah. I have so.
What's your problem?
Yeah, no. Yeah. So I asked this question, but the thing is, for me, I'm a binary guy, so I never listen people. But sometimes it's really good, but sometimes it's not good at all. But at the end, I try to make everyone happy. So I remember back in this time when I was working, I was not an officially freelancer, but I was doing exactly the same. So I was hired as a developer, and the thing at the end, I was Scrum Master / Product Manager. So I was leading a team of 10 people. And the thing is, I was not listening at all, my own client, because I knew what was good for the end customer. And the thing is, I was doing the feature. I was shooting everything because at the end, my client was not aware about how to build a product in the modern world with a demo every 2 weeks, things like that. So it was fine, but at the end, they wanted to continue my contract, and I was like, no, sorry, I'm not going to work with you anymore because you are not listening my advice. And the thing is, 1 year after, they shut down the application because of some reasons. And I was like, with my friend, hey, I knew it. So yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's a really tricky question because there is plenty of different variables. You can't have like right or black answer for that. It depends on the team. It depends if it's a new project or not. It depends of the people. They are finally, it depends on the skills of all the team. Like, for example, with the last contract I have with CodeControl, I have an interview with the CTO, and they have a junior level guy. So I'm like, okay, fine. I am going to do everything and have a Zoom with the junior developer, teach him everything that I know, and it was not at all in the contract. And I think the CTO is going to be happy with that, but to be honest, I don't know. So sometimes you need to don't respect the hierarchy or things like that. But it's just because I'm used to work like this. I only value skills, which is not good. But sometimes it's good, but sometimes not. But I'm always happy to share and trying to help everyone.
Yeah, that seems to be the common denominator. Like on top of needing to be disciplined and you yourself being ready for that, you also need to have that inherent quality of empathy, right? And actually being able to, we talked about active listening, we talked about generally just helping solve the other person's issues, which I think more so than anything, because you're there as a specialist in order to do that with your special skill. Super interesting. Guys, let's move maybe to the questions. I'm just going to open the questions at the bottom. So
okay. Can I add one last thing to that?
Go, please.
You mentioned empathy a few times. I don't know how it is for UX designers or for David, but empathy is important, but it's also a risk, at least in the kind of projects that I'm involved in, because you can talk to your initial customer and you can listen to them and you can try to figure out what problem are they trying to solve and then see if you can find a match. But once you get involved in that project, you also get to deal with their colleagues and maybe even with their customers. And then you find out that you can't serve all of them. So at some point you have to switch back from the empathy level to the point where you say, okay, but now we stop here because now I'm the expert and I'm going to say, this is the direction that we're going to take. Otherwise we keep going from left to right and back and forth until the end of the project and we end up with nothing. Or with something that gets shut down after a year, like David explained.
Yeah,
definitely. On my side, it also happens like this. Basically, at some point, you have to take, this decision for the team and everyone involved, because it can go infinite. Like the kind of counting the problems and issues. You can't always solve everything, and you always have a budget and the time. Like proper planning is really important also.
Cool. Let's jump into the questions. So the first question. Let's say I want to apply to CodeControl. Do I need to already be registered as a freelancer in Germany? If yes, are there companies that help with the paperwork? To apply to CodeControl, ideally, so the majority of the people that we work with, they already started freelancing, so they have their the documents set up, they have everything set up. We offer advice. So we also have what we're going to talk about at the end of this call. It's also a handbook that gives you the tips that we've learned from a lot of people that have applied to CodeControl, and this can help you, Rosanna. So to answer the second part, which is, are there companies that help with the paperwork? To be honest, I'm not sure about this. Do you guys know about companies that generally help with getting you started with freelancing paperwork?
I think there are some in Germany, something for expats probably. Then yeah, it's some you can ask on Facebook expats group. I think people would be able to suggest. I did everything on my own, and with the friends' help actually who went through that process.
Did you find it quite challenging, or was it?
Of course, it's because everything is in German, and obviously in those institutions, they are not even allowed to speak to you in English. Yeah, so you need always to have your advisor with you, or translator, or a friend who speaks perfectly German. Yeah, then it's okay.
But I think in Berlin, since they're also being a bit more responsive and like aware of the freelance economy, they also do provide the advisors. I know a lot of freelancers in CodeControl that, I mean, they have advisors in the state advisors from the government that actually talk them through the whole process.
Yeah, you see, I made my freelancing case in Germany like 5 years ago, so it's like probably that was kind of long time ago.
Like Rosanna, I know for sure that there's a community member in CodeControl. His name is Bushan, and he for sure has an advisor that he talks to who I believe speaks English in Germany, in Berlin. Cool. So coming from France, do you know Malt, and what's your experience? A lot of the issues like paperwork and payment are getting solved by them now. So I know Malt.
So what is Malt? Malt. It's the same as Upwork. So the thing is, I'm on fun tip, pro tip. I'm on all platform, whatever. So just to build your own presence and get back to your website. So I tried multiple things on Malt, like 100 euro per day, and I was a lot of contacts. And I will say, yeah, but I'm working only 1 hour per day for you. But it's not really working. The thing is, with Malt, you need to use their platform, and to be honest, I can't judge because I never use it. I think they want to become the hub as a freelancing for your CRM. You have all your stats there. You have all your accounting. You have everything. So to be honest, you can find some work on that. I have some friends who found work on Malt, but my experience is, hi, we need someone now for 300 euro. Okay, but no. And it's just my experience. So I think you can just give a try and have your own opinion. But the thing is, I know how the algorithm works is you need to use Malt every day and pass with have the payment there. The client needs to be on Malt, and that's how you go on the top of the search.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they definitely have expanded from France as well.
They started in France and now they are in Spain and something like that. But yeah, on my experience, no, it's like all the platform there, like Upwork, Free, whatever.
It's more like a matching platform, right? Like it's not really a curated experience. It's more like you need to really use this product in order to get the most out of it and kind of like buy into the whole ecosystem.
To be honest, my experience is not really good. So, but it can change. So I don't
know. So biggest problem of being a freelancer is to find work. How to get quality work? No Upwork, no freelancer.com from Amit. I think we talked a bit about this in terms of. We talked a lot about this in terms of how to, when we asked the question, how do you stand out as a freelancer?
As a growth hacker, you automate everything, and the thing is, you need to have one landing page, one form with Typeform or Airtable or whatever. It's my technique. I have. It's not good. Probably.
I think you did a good point. You know, like trying to be on as many platforms as possible. I mean,
and have a landing page. So a lot of people are gonna enter on your funnel.
Yeah.
And you have a form, and I have a form at the end, and not all of the people are filling the form, But yeah, my strategy is try to add everyone that I can on my sales funnel.
Yep. Irina, maybe you want to say something about like quality gigs, because I know you get a lot of quality gigs.
Yeah, to me, I think it's more somehow LinkedIn made sense for me. You know, it's like kind of, I don't know, I'm not even being super active there, but I'm like keeping, you know, updating actually my LinkedIn as much as I can. And also probably to me, what works really good, I sometimes get or do additional certificate courses or diplomas, for example, you know, which is like something very trendy, which some companies might be interested into. And yeah, that has been my approach. You know, as I said, I can't really post all my client you know, designs on my website, so I keep it more artistic or creative, let's say like this. And then if someone reaches out to me, usually through LinkedIn or email, yes, then I'm sending PDF portfolio, you know, which is like weirdest thing, but yeah, this is what I can do for them, you know, and generally this is how it happens. They generally like what they see.
Cool. Okay. And then thank you. So the next question is, how do you price your freelance service? Should it be cheap compared to the pricing given by a company? By company, I suppose agency, you mean, Edgar? And if so, is there a standard percentage of savings that the customer will get if they contract a freelancer? Happy to chat about this maybe a bit separately, since it seems like you're interested in working with CodeControl. More than happy to chat to you. What I would do is I'll also leave you'll get an follow-up email from us, and you can contact us directly if that's something you're interested in. But as a quick answer, we can always provide, really good rates. For us, it's trying to find the best matching possible with our community members. So that means also taking a smaller cut from CodeControl side if it makes it work out. We're also happy to always make it happen. So just moving on. So from Logan, we have a question: what was your biggest challenge getting started as a freelancer? I think we talked a bit about this, but maybe Angelo, if you had to pin that down to like one, let's just go for one thing. Like, what was the big challenge for you?
The big challenge. I was thinking of saying getting the first gig, but that's not true because I stole that from my last employer.
Okay, that's something we're not promoting, by the way. Like, that's not.
It was the customer's fault. The customer said, "We want to continue with you," and then the company said, "No, he can't do that." And they said, "Yes, he can because we want him and we don't want your company." It was about him all the time. But apart from that, yeah, really getting that first gig yourself—that's probably the hardest. And it's what I saw, what I mentioned earlier. All the account managers can do it, and I can do it as well. Turns out I can, but the first time is really, really hard because you have no clue where to start. Who should I talk to? Where do I find that first project? Once you get that, then you start talking to people who are also involved in the project or in the customer organization, and you learn on your first gig how to do it the second time, and then it becomes easy. Landing the first one, that's the hardest for sure.
Cool, thanks. From Yulia, what can you bring back to a regular office job? I'm not sure I understand too well what you mean. What can you bring?
It's about what would make me or someone else switch back to the, I think.
Oh, right, I see.
7-figure paycheck. 7-figure paycheck.
But it's not. No. Is it about the money though, David? Is it about the money?
No, to be honest, no, because I need to go to the office. So I'm a remote. I'm a nomad now.
What do you miss? So like, what could actually draw you back into full-time employment? Given that there's no more offices, we're not heading to offices these days anymore. But what else could draw you back?
Now, to be honest, I have a serious answer. It's I think it's the project. See, if I have a project like, I don't know, build a platform like the future of the blockchain or whatever, some like an interesting project where you have the same team and working with the same colleague and with a decent budget. That's sometimes it's frustrating when you are freelancing because you always change your coworkers. and you tend to rebuild the same thing again and again and again, like basic project management, like basic interactions with people. So because it's really tired at the end you are exhausted. I think have conversations with new people all the time. For me, I'm doing this since years, so I don't know, but I think it depends as well on the type of contract that you have.
Yeah. Irina?
Yeah, I think it's the same for me, but yeah, some really, really interesting products, I would not mind being involved in the long term, because this long term kind of burden sometimes can be very difficult. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like the idea that I can control, my own time, finances, like when I have my vacation. So it's actually, it's really about the lifestyle. So if there would be a company who could offer me super, flexible, I don't know, environment, then probably it would be possible. And equal pay, let's say also, let's mention that because it is actually important.
Absolutely, yeah. Cool. Then let's maybe, we have one last question. What can you suggest to a 54-year-old financial expert to get a freelance road, to maybe jump on the freelance road? I would suggest reading our Freelancer Handbook as a first step, which I'm going to talk about that because this is a perfect segue into that topic. But just to maybe wrap up, do you guys have maybe, it's about time that we kind of finish up, just to respect the time a bit. But I wanted to ask you one last question. And the question is, I thought about this one for a bit. You've been freelancing for a while now. And if you could meet yourself when you started freelancing, that very first gig, given what you know now, would you do anything differently? David?
Yes. Do the paperwork and pay your tax, because at the beginning I didn't. Yeah, quite. It was like but I earned like 600 euros, so it was like super long time ago. And but now these days it's easier. Before it was like you need to deal with the paperwork and so on. It was like horrible. Now you have like banking, online bankings. You have stuff like CodeControl, so it doesn't apply.
No. Cool, thank you. Irina?
I think in my case, I would say that don't wait until your first project finishes and already look for new opportunities. Yes, definitely. That was my case because, sometimes we just, and that's, again, something really important, negotiate the deadlines, or the project scope. Otherwise, it just, you don't know, this uncertainty.
Cool, thanks. Angela?
That's an easy one. The first gig that I got was through an agency, I said, and that was at the end of 2008 when the whole financial world was doing this.
Yeah.
So after 6 months, the project was over because everybody who was external was kicked out. And I learned already there that the people that were staying were either employed by the customer or people that knew the customer very well. And all of us guys who were there through an agency were the first ones to go. So that's basically the first time that I ran into the issue. You really have to talk to the customer themselves. Don't rely on somebody else to do that for you, because it's better for the relationship, it's better for the project that you do. And in cases like this, it's also, it's not a full guarantee, but it increases your chances of being allowed to stay on for a bit longer if there are really big problems, which is exactly what happened on my current project. I moved to Italy. Okay, that was a bit of a shock for them because I would be working, I was already working partly from home, but I would be working full-time from home. And with the Corona crisis, they said, yeah, okay, we've been successfully doing that for a while already. So some people have to go, but you stay. be in touch with the real customer.
Cool. Thank you so much. So, there's one last question. I saw this. What other services you're providing? Sorry to be late. No problemo. Services we're providing. So in terms of CodeControl, and we're going to talk about the services that all of you beautiful people provide. But in terms of CodeControl, we help our community first and foremost with finding gigs. Currently, our community has 650 devs, designers, product managers, finding gigs and making sure that the whole experience of jumping on the project, taking care of the admin, the customer relations, taking normally what are quite, that take a lot of time. We help take care of that for our community members. And as well as that, we provide really awesome content. I mean, this is things we love doing, right? Creating the connections. We talked about how important the human element is and just like the connection to listening to who you're talking to and people you're working with. And this is why we hosted today's webinar. That's also the reason why we'll talk about the handbook in a second as well. So that's a long answer to the question, but we are trying to improve the lives of freelancers through cool products and services. So for that, I am so grateful for all of you for being here. Thank you so much for, again, taking the time for being here, and the video will be replayable. I'm just gonna politely exit 3 of you off the call, but I will actually just be, for everyone else who's on the webinar, I'm actually just gonna be saying a couple more words to wrap up the call. But thank you so much, Irina, David, and Angela.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers.
So, wow, that passed really quickly. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm just going to quickly say a couple things about a nice little project we're working on. And this is a really awesome project for anyone that's interested in freelancing. I mentioned this maybe once or twice. We have a Freelancing Handbook, which is essentially our insights from our community that we've been building for the last 5 years. I'll share my screen with you. And there you have it. So this is our CodeControl Freelancer Handbook. That's just a little screenshot of the first page. But that's essentially our second edition of the handbook. It's got insights from testimonials from our community members. We have awesome tips on how to start a business. We have awesome tips on how to create a portfolio. We also have really cool insights on things like how to save cash. Also tax tips, how to optimize your taxes. And we have a whole bunch of really useful links to learning resources and also, other tools that can help you get started in freelancing, or if you're actually a seasoned freelancer, that can maybe get you inspired from new things. We have, for example, David is featured, really awesome. David's featured in the handbook, and we feature his process and how to automate his whole sales cycle, which is really, really cool. And that's it. There's a little link there. I'll also be emailing everyone who's joining us today. You get a link to our landing page for the handbook. And also I'll drop you the link to join our community if you're interested in joining CodeControl's community. And that's it. Wow, that was really, really great. I'm really happy that all of you joined us. Again, if there's any questions at all, if you didn't get those questions answered today, we're going to be shooting out an email to all of you. So feel free to reply to that, and I'll make sure to get back to you with anything at all. I hope you have a really wonderful, wonderful weekend ahead. And thanks for being here, and goodbye.